All right, all right. Buenas noches a ustedes. Buenas noches. We're going to go ahead and get this party started. If you're joining us for the first time here at Speak Spanish Now, welcome, welcome, welcome. Bienvenidos a todos. Here on Speak Spanish Now, we try to break things down fairly easy for you in Espanol so that you can pick it up and utilize it as quickly as possible. So we definitely want to make sure that you are um, picking up this information that we're giving you and that it is easy to digest and understand. So, without further ado, what we're talking about today is we are looking at el pretérito. Okay, the preterite tense, the simple past. Some people refer to it as such. So that is what we are looking at right now. Our previous class was the preterite tense, but it was just the AR verbs, right? It was just the AR verbs. So we are looking at the preterite tense from a standpoint of the ER and IR verbs today in this particular class. Okay, so that is what we want to take a look at and try and break it down for you so that it is easily understood. Okay, so the preterite tense, el pretérito, made easy is what we're looking at here. Okay, so um, there's not really a big difference in what we talked about in our previous class, right? We talked about the being able to master the preterite tense using just regular AR verbs, right? That is what we were looking at. So we want to go ahead and take the same approach that we did with los verbos que terminan en AR, the verbs that end in AR. We want to take that same approach and kind of break this down so that you can utilize it quickly. Okay, so we want to make sure that you can do that. First and foremost, you have to remember that when we're dealing with the preterite tense, el pretérito, right? There is always, just like there is with the present tense, there's always going to be some irregular verbs. But today, our focus is strictly on the regular conjugations, right? We want to get those out of the way and make sure we understand those completely before we start to deal with utilizing some irregular verbs in el pretérito. Entonces aquí tenemos la definición sobre el pretérito. All right. So es importante para expresarte en el pasado, right? So it's important to be able to express yourself in the past, the simple past. And when we say simple past, what do we actually mean? We're talking about things that happened like yesterday, last night, this morning, the day before yesterday, last week. These are all keywords that we utilize in English, and we use them in Spanish as well. Okay. So you want to make sure that you understand that it is synonymous with what we do in English. Okay. And if English isn't your first language, hopefully you understand the concept or the context of that when it comes to el pretérito, all right, in the past. So, want to be able to express ourselves in the past. We're talking about actions that may have occurred. Let's go, for example, last night or yesterday, right? So, focus today. Once again, el pretérito regular. That's all we're going to be looking at right now. Okay, the regular preterite tense. We will have a future class where we're talking about the irregular preterite. Soy Profe Don Omar. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Today's focus, damas y caballeros, los verbos que terminan ER e IR. Okay, so we're looking at verbs that end in ER and IR. You might want to go ahead and get you a list of ER, IR verbs that you've been studying or looking at or checking on your language apps. What are some ER and IR verbs that you know already, and then that you can kind of utilize what we're doing here today to practice with those verbs on your own? Okay, so let's take a look here. So, cuando lo utilizas, right? So, cuando lo usas, when do you use it? All right, when do you use the preterite tense, el pretérito. Es un repaso. This is a review, right? So, usamos el pretérito con una acción completada, right? So we use it with a completed action in the past, all right? So, for example, I ate a sandwich yesterday, right? That would be an example of us using el pretérito, or the simple past. We also want to use el pretérito para hablar de un punto específico en el pasado, cuando tenemos un principio o una terminación. So we want to be able to use the preterite tense when we're talking about a specific point in the past where we have a beginning or an ending. All right. Those are two of the main examples, or two of the main factors when it comes to us having to use el pretérito. Okay. So now let's take a look. It's ojo, look out, right? So it says, hay terminaciones diferentes en el pretérito. What do we mean by that? We mean that there are some different endings that we have to attach to our root words or our verbs, as opposed to the ones that we use in el presente, right? So we've got some different endings. We want to make sure you take a look at these. Also, it says, miremos la tabla de los verbos que terminan con AR, but we're talking about ER and IR verbs, so disregard that. So let's take a look here. Los verbos que terminan ER e IR, all right? So ER, IR verbs, we're talking about the endings. These are what you're going to add after you take off your ER or IR, okay, of a verb. For example, all right? Por ejemplo, vamos a agregar I, right? Con una tilde. We're going to add an accented I, all right? Iste. Right? Y yo. All right. Make sure you repeat those out loud so that you can kind of get the memory of what this should sound like when we attach a word to it at the beginning portion. All right. So, y, iste, y yo. Okay. Y también tenemos imos, istes, en la forma de vosotros en España, right? They use that in Spain, istes. Y también tenemos hieron. Okay, hieron. Okay, so here are our endings. Make sure you jot those down. Make sure you have those so that you can take those with you and kind of start adding these to verbs that end in ER or IR. Okay, so this is a quick lesson. Hopefully you can pick up what I'm putting down here. Here we have unos ejemplos. We've got some examples here. All right. Encender, which simply means to turn on, right? To turn on or to light up. So el verbo encender, right? Basic form, the infinitive. We're going to take off that ER and we're going to add our ending that we had in the previous slide. All right. Encendí, right? Which will be the yo form, la forma de yo. Yo encendí. Tú encendiste. Okay. Él o ella o usted encendió. Right. Nosotros, nosotras encendimos. And we skipped the vosotros format. Y también tenemos la forma de ellos, ellas, ustedes encendieron, right? So I turned on, you turned on, he or she or you formal turned on, we turned on, or they turned on, all right? Once again, repita, all right? While you were listening here, make sure you repeat what you hear, all right? So you can kind of get used to this. Encendí, encendiste, encendió. Right? Make sure you put that stress on that O, that accented O. Encendí, encendiste, encendió, encendimos, encendieron. All right? Just an example, un ejemplo, all right? Con un verbo, un ejemplo, to light up or to turn on. All right? Tenemos otro ejemplo. Y mira aquí, tenemos el verbo correr. All right? Correr significa to run. Sí, exacto. All right, so tenemos que seguir las cosas, or we have to follow the things, las reglas. All right, cuando estamos conjugando un verbo, when we are conjugating a verb. First thing, right? Take off the ER. All right, so, and this is any verb, right? This is any verb. We got to always take that ER off if we're going to use it as our verb for a particular statement that we're making. All right, tenemos que usar las mismas terminaciones. We have to use the same endings for these ER and IR verbs. Take a look. Corrí. ¿Sí? Y también tenemos corriste. corrió. All right, make sure you're listening to where the stress is going on these accented versions of the verb, el verbo correr. All right, corrí, corriste, corrió. Right, I ran, you ran, he or she ran, or you formal ran, corrió. Y también tenemos corrimos, nosotros corrimos, right? We ran, all right? We ran, all right? Corrimos. Y también la última forma, corrieron, okay? They ran, okay? Or you all ran, all right? So, otra vez tenemos corrí, corriste, corrió, corrimos, corrieron. All in the past tense. They ran, we ran, he or she ran, you ran, I ran. Okay. And then, of course, we just add in our filler, right? You want to end your sentence, you can add in whatever you want to. All right. I ran in the park. I ran through the park. Whatever you want to add, right? Corrí por el parque. All right. So you can just simply say that. I ran through the park. Okay. Tenemos otro ejemplo. We got another verb here. Another example. El verbo vivir. All right. El verbo vivir, to live, right? So I'm going to say, I lived. Viví. All right. I lived. Viví. Tú viviste. You lived. Okay. You lived. Ellos, ellas, o lo siento. Él, ella, usted vivió. All right. Yo viví, tú viviste, él, ella, usted vivió. También tenemos nosotros vivimos. All right. Nosotros o nosotras vivimos. Y la última forma, ellos, ellas vivieron. They lived. Okay. They lived. So we've got 3 examples here. Make sure you jot those down, have those as examples to utilize as you work on practicing your conjugating con el pretérito. Okay. Y también vamos a usar los verbos en contexto. We're going to use some of the examples here, and I think one of them is missing. We'll add it here. If I click, there it is. So we're going to add these into context here so that you can kind of see where we're going con los verbos y el pretérito. Por ejemplo, yo comí una hamburguesa ayer. Right? Yo comí una hamburguesa ayer. I ate a hamburger yesterday, right? Well, pues para mí, yo comí 2 hamburguesas ayer, right? Tú leíste la información anoche, right? Tú leíste la información anoche. You read the information last night, okay? Los hombres abrieron los regalos, right? Los hombres abrieron los regalos. All right. The men opened, the gifts. All right. So notice who our subject is in each one of these. All right. En la primera oración tenemos yo. En la segunda oración tenemos tú. Y la última oración tenemos los hombres. All right. The men, they opened the gifts. You read the information, right? I ate. Okay. Y vamos a continuar. All right. So tenemos un aviso, right? We've got a little warning here. It says stem changing ER verbs. Remember, we call them boot verbs. All right. There's a reason why we call them that. You can definitely stick around for a future lesson on that. But we've seen these before. Stem changing ER verbs do not have stem changes in the preterite tense. Okay. Huge rule to make sure you remember. ER verbs that have stem changes in the present tense, they do not have stem changes in el pretérito. Okay. That is something you definitely want to take with you. La segunda cosa, stem changing IR verbs, however, do have stem changes in the preterite tense. Okay. Stem changing IR verbs do have stem changes in the preterite tense as well as in the present tense. Okay. So make sure you have those 2 notes as you go forth conjugating and utilizing these in conversation. If you don't know what a stem changing verb is, it's a verb that changes from O to UE E to IE, E to I. In some cases, like the verb jugar, U to UE. All right. But if the verb ends in ER or ends in AR, there's no stem change. Only verbs that have stem, the only verbs that have stem changes are the IR verbs in el pretérito. Okay. IR verbs. Okay. Y aquí tenemos ejemplos. All right. ¿Entendiste la puerta cuando saliste? All right. I don't even know what we were trying to. I think we want to say, oh, this verb, I didn't change the verb there. I didn't change the sentence. All right. So let's change the word puerta to luz. How about that? I don't know why we didn't change that. I was going with the verb cerraste, which was an AR verb, but that does not help us. All right. So aquí tenemos entendiste. Oh man, why do we still encendiste? Lo siento. Lo siento. Let's change that T to a C. There we go. Encendiste la luz cuando saliste. Okay. Encendiste la luz cuando saliste. You turned on the light when you left. All right. You turned on the light, and it should say encender en los paréntesis aquí. We're live right here, ladies and gentlemen. So, yes, there are going to be mistakes. All right. Sometimes. Encendiste la luz cuando saliste. All right. You turned on the light when you left. All right. Let's look at the next one. La próxima oración aquí. ¿Prefirió el bistec o el pescado? All right. ¿Prefirió el bistec o pescado? Right. Did you prefer steak or fish? Could be in a formal situation here at a restaurant. They may say, ¿prefirió el bistec o el pescado? Your waitress, your mesero, mesera, camarero, camarera might have forgotten what it was that you ordered, and they come back to the table and they say, ¿prefirió el bistec o el pescado, señor or señora? Right? Did you prefer steak or chicken? All right. Could also be in the el ella format, but we just want to keep it one or the other right now. All right, viene del verbo preferir. Notice that preferir is what we call a stem changing verb, right? Encender was also a stem changing verb in el presente. But if you go back and you take a look here, notice just like we said in our rules that encender does not have a stem change in el pretérito. All right, solamente en el presente. Right? It does not have a stem change in the preterite tense if it's an ER verb, right? And it is. All right. And it does have a stem change. All right. In el presente. All right. Y aquí tenemos el verbo preferir. All right. Recuerda, preferir. And it does have a stem change in el presente y también en el pretérito. All right, it's an IR verb. Remember that the E changes to IE in preferir, right? E changes to IE in the present tense, right? Pero en el pretérito, it's only an I. All right, that's a secret to some stem changing verbs that we call sandal verbs in el pretérito, but that's another lesson for another day. All right, but notice that the E is no longer E to IE like it is in the present tense. In el pretérito, it's E to I. Okay. All right, so aquí tenemos práctica para ustedes. We've got some practice for you / homework. Escribe tus respuestas en los comentarios. All right, so let's take a look here. That one disappeared on us again. What I want you to do here is tú vas a crear una oración. You're going to create a sentence using the words that we have here. And of course, you must conjugate los verbos, right? Y aquí tenemos el verbo, barrer, comer, y pedir, right? So let's look at, do we need to know what these actually mean in English to make these work? Absolutely not, all right? But I do want you to know what these verbs are and what these words are. If you don't, if these are unfamiliar territory for you as far as the vocabulary is concerned, make sure you go back and do some additional work and find out what these words mean. Yo barrer el piso, la cocina, right? This is practice. Put your answers in the comments. I would love to see those. And I'll be checking for them when you are done with watching this video. Tu comer el espagueti, la nevera. All right. And of course, there's some words missing in these fragments, right? You're going to need to add in some keywords to make the sentences make sense. And then the last sentence, la última oración, es mi favorita, right? Los Lakers perder cada partido. All right. You probably can guess what we're talking about there. I'll give you a hint. Okay. Give you a hint there. So those are the sentences we want you to put together, and then put your answers into the comment section when you are done. Damas y caballeros, that is the end of this quick lesson. Make sure you go back and watch the first lesson, which was on AR verbs in a preterito. I'll make sure to add that link for you so that it might not be up here right now. It might not be up here right now, but eventually once this gets loaded into YouTube as an actual video, it'll be there for you to go back and check that out. And of course, we'll be back soon with another lesson. Soy Profe Don Omar. Nos vemos.